Hey guys, welcome to Money Talks News, the podcast. We're making you richer one day at a time. You know, Americans are worried about retiring with 61% concerned they won't have enough money to support their lifestyle. On top of that, 20% of those over the age of 50 don't have any retirement savings at all. Now, this is a ticking time bomb for many people, and luckily, it's one they can avoid if they're ready to supercharge their savings now that more provisions from the Secure 2.0 Act are going into effect. Secure 2.0 is a law encouraging employees to contribute to 401k or 403b plans. I'm Stacey Johnson. With me is co-host Miranda Markman. Hello, Miranda.
Hello. Good morning.
And our producer, Aaron Freeman. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, how you doing? Let's get secure.
I'm flawless. How are you? And today we also have with us Ed Slott, CPA and founder of IRAHelp.com and author of The Retirement Savings Time Bomb Ticks Louder. He's here to help us to know what savers need to learn about Secure 2.0. Hello, Ed. Welcome back.
Great to be back with you.
We love having you. But now you're going to have to help me, though, Ed, because I need a refresher on exactly what Secure 2.0 is.
Well, it's more than Secure 2.0. I mean, I should say it's less than that because anything named secure means less secure. So don't go by what Congress calls it. You know, in 40 years studying tax law, I learned one thing. Whenever Congress creates or names a law, you can almost always bet whatever they name it, it will do exactly the opposite. So let me take you back to the original Secure.
I was just going to ask you, what was Secure 1.0?
Well, it changed the whole landscape of retirement planning because Congress, as usual, needed money. So they took away some of the biggest benefits, mainly for beneficiaries who used to, in the past, if they inherited an IRA, they could do the so-called stretch IRA, where they could extend their inherited distributions over the rest of their lives for 20, 30, 50, 70 years. If you were a 10-year-old, the younger you are, or you were, you could stretch it out. And that was in place for many, many years, decades. Congress needed money, so they said, you know what, we think retirement accounts should just be for the people who earned it, not for the beneficiaries. So we're going to kill that deal, which they did effective in 2020. And replace it with a 10-year rule, which means a lot of this money is going to be heavily taxed to beneficiaries in the 10 years after death. So it changed the way people did planning and planning for their loved ones. But we also have some opportunities. Secure 2.0 came around and gave us more Roth IRA opportunities, Roth 401k opportunities. And that's a good thing because I'm a big Roth fan. I'm a big Roth believer because anything in a Roth IRA, that's where you want to be, grows income tax free for the rest of your life and even under the Secure Act 10 years beyond for your beneficiaries. So that's not a bad deal. They actually went what I call Roth crazy, like Rothomania. Now you might say, well, that was really nice of Congress. Well, there's always a reason, and of course, you know what the reason is, right? They needed more money. So Roth brings in money. That's something people don't realize, and lucky for us, Congress are the worst financial planners on earth. Look at our deficit and debt levels. So they love the idea of the Roth because it brings in revenue. The only money that can get in a Roth IRA is already taxed money. So they opened the spigots on that. Now you could have Roth SEP IRAs, Roth Simple IRAs, expanded Roth 401ks, matching Roth 401ks, catch-up Roth 401ks, I-29 to Roth IRAs, Roth everywhere. Because every time somebody puts money in a Roth, any type of Roth, it brings in revenue to the government.
Okay, now, just to be clear, for those who aren't following this too closely, what it used to be was, okay, my wife is much younger than me. Okay, so she inherits my IRA. Then this is the way it used to be. She could take my IRA and not be forced to take withdrawals throughout her lifetime. Is that right?
Well, it depends until you would have reached 73, say. And that's still the case. In fact, the IRS just came out with new regulations. And that's another thing. IRS finally released the rules on how they apply 4.5 years after the original Secure Act was enacted. So that rule they made clear still stands.
Okay, so but now, because of Secure 1.0, the money has to be withdrawn. If you inherit an IRA, that money has to be withdrawn within 10 years.
No,
right?
no, that's what I said. But what you said is different. If you're a non-spouse, spouses get every benefit. There are no benefits taken away from spouses. Congress was after the next generation.
Oh, okay.
So the spouse could do a rollover, treat it as her own, and don't worry about your wife. Don't worry, she'll be fine. She'll marry somebody else. They'll go on for 20, 50 more years. You'll all be fine. It's the next generation.
Yeah. Do you know my wife, Ed?
I don't know her, but you just said she's much younger than you. So
I'm running away with your wife after you die, Stacy. I'm running away with your wife. We're gonna go and have a really great bi relationship after you're dead.
I'll tell you what. First of all, that sounds awesome. But secondly, I'm gonna take you guys off as beneficiaries from IRA now.
Yeah, that'll show them.
Yeah, I'll show them. Okay, so let's not get too far afield.
So if you
here.
name Miranda instead, she's going to be on the 10-year rule.
She'd probably smother me with a pillow tonight if I put her on my.
I mean, I can do that. I can make it happen in 10 years. That's fine.
Yeah, I've seen enough crime shows. I haven't seen one on that over the IRA, though.
Oh, you got to watch the ID channel, my friend. You can find anything you want.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. Well, I wanted that stretch IRA, and I had to have it, and I couldn't wait.
Okay, so anyway, listen, I've got to get back to this. Actually, we don't have to get back to script. Let's just keep going down this road. It's funny. No, here's what
we got to be useful. We got to be useful to somebody somewhere.
I didn't bring up the wife and all that stuff, Stacey.
Okay, so listen. How this is what my script tells me to ask you next. How does Secure 2.0 help savers supercharge their retirement accounts?
Well, you have more options, especially for younger people. Yeah, and the younger people have the big advantages. They always say, well, we don't have what the parents and grandparents have. We don't have the big retirement accounts. Everything's tougher for us. I think I said that too about my parents, so who knows if it's just a generational thing. But the greatest money-making asset any individual can possess is time. And young people have more of it than anyone else, and they should be capitalizing on it. And they should be doing only Roth IRAs and only Roth 401ks at work. The first thing to do is stop contributing, and this is probably for everybody, stop contributing to IRAs and 401ks. People do that because they get an upfront deduction, but that's not worth anything anymore. Especially with the new rules, the tougher rules and the taxes and the complications with IRAs, you're better off with Roths. Roths don't have required minimum distributions at 73. They don't have the complex rules for the beneficiaries. And they grow income tax-free for the rest of your life and even 10 years beyond after the Secure Act. People say, well, I want my 401k because I get a deduction, but it's not a real deduction. Well, the deduction you get for contributing to a 401k at work is really just a loan you're taking from the government that will have to be paid back at the worst possible time in retirement.
That makes sense. Now, you and I have had this conversation before, and what I said to you then was, what if I'm in a really high tax bracket now? I'm going to be in a really low tax bracket after I retire. Doesn't it make sense for me to get that deduction now versus after I'm retired?
If what you say would be true, which it isn't. So,
I knew this was coming.
And here's why.
Out here calling out some BS or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, he makes sense because I get that question. I just did a program before, that same exact question. I do consumer programs all the time. Everybody says the same thing. But Ed, why would I pay tax now when I could be in a lower bracket in retirement? I find that never happens. Why? Because if you do nothing, people forget your IRA. Let's say you don't convert to a Roth. You don't want to do anything. You build up your 401k. You get your happy deductions. It's like a sugar high up front. But you're building an account. And then when you retire, all of a sudden, you've built up so much that your required distributions push you in a higher tax bracket. I had this with a client many years ago when I was doing more client work. And I kept telling him he was building up his 401k. I said, you should stop that, convert to a Roth, get it in a Roth. No, I want the deduction. I'm in a high tax bracket. I'll be in a low tax bracket when I retire. And if that was true, that would be the right move, because you want to pay taxes the most when you're in the lowest bracket. Anyway, a few years later, he comes in and we're doing work. He comes in to do his taxes for the first full year of retirement. In other words, no W-2 this year. So he's all happy, eager, and excited to see, how am I going to do? I give him his tax return. He looks at it and says, how could this be, Ed? My income is higher than my best earnings years. How could this be? I said, it's easy, because you never listen to me. Your RMD exceeds the best W-2 you ever had.
So he had a giant retirement account, though, right?
Well, yeah, but you know what? You just gave an example of somebody who's in a high bracket. I find that, and they always say I'll be in a low bracket in retirement. I find that people that are in a high bracket are always in a high bracket, because if they're in a high bracket, they've been doing things right. They have a good job, maybe making other investments. And when it comes to retirement, those investments and the IRA payouts tend to replace, and even more so, the income they had.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, Ed. And you know what? I'm in the highest tax bracket, and it is just really difficult not to take that deduction, though. I mean, you're done.
But it's not a deduction. You give it back later.
Well, it's a deduction
you don't know
for today.
What future tax rates are. This is all a bet on what future tax rates are. When I do consumer programs or even advisor programs, I always poll the audience. I say, how many of you believe that tax rates in the future, say in retirement, will go up? And about half the hands go up. That's, half and half. But then I ask a follow-up question. All right, I see half of you think taxes will go up. How many of you think taxes will go down? Not one hand goes up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how can that be? That's the same question I just asked in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unlikely taxes will go down. We're in the lowest rates you'll ever see in your lifetime. And given that as a CPA, I have to, even though Congress doesn't, I have to believe in math. And I believe that the debt, the whole country's on a credit card. We're at $34 trillion in debt, that we just hit over $1 trillion in deficit. At some point, the bill's going to come due. Now, it could be I'm wrong, that Congress keeps kicking it down the road, but maybe not. But if they ever tighten their belt, they're going to have to raise rates. And the people that will be at the highest risk are the people with the most money in accounts that have not yet been taxed, IRAs and 401ks. So if you pay tax now, at least you're locking in today's rates. That's a guarantee of buying out taxes while they're on sale. Everybody likes a sale.
Well, now there is a time value of money to consider too, right?
No, there isn't.
Money I'm saving today is worth more than money I'm going to be saving 10 years from now.
Oh, boy. You fell into the trap, but all right, you open the door. You know what? I get that question from accountants too, because I say, pay the tax on a Roth conversion. And they say, why would I do that? That's the typical, and I am an accountant too, but CPAs think like that. I'm a recovering CPA, so it's a little different with me. And they'll say, but Ed, if I pay a lot, if I have my client, they'll say, pay all this tax on a Roth conversion. That money could have been earning money in the market. There's an opportunity cost.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I have to pull out the sheet that I create just for the person that asked that question. And I said, no, it's a math thing. If tax rates are the same in the future as they are now, let's say they don't go up, but it's hard to believe they would go down, even in retirement. So if you did nothing, you'd have these RMDs. That's on the income side. But on the deduction side, you won't have the deductions in retirement you have now. Chances are you don't have any tax deductions for dependent children or things like that because you're in retirement. You probably don't have the 401k deductions. You probably don't have a mortgage on your house. You don't have the mortgage interest deduction. And you don't have any deductions anyway, because almost everybody takes the standard deduction now.
That's why it's so tempting to take a deduction for retirement plan contribution, because I have no other deductions. I'm not Donald Trump. I have to actually pay taxes.
But it's not a real deduction. If you take a deduction for charity or medical, you get that deduction. This is a timing difference. This is a loan you're taking from the government to be paid back at some future rate, maybe at a higher balance, at a higher rate. And you could be in trouble. You can lock in the rates. Well, let me tell you why the opportunity cost opportunity cost argument makes no sense. If rates are exactly the same, the outcome is exactly the same. I'll give you a very simple example. I don't even have to show it. It's so simple, it could even work on radio. Let's see. Let's say you're deciding whether to convert $100,000. But what we have to do, we have to set some parameters. Let's assume a 30% tax rate. Doesn't matter, as long as we're assuming the same rate now and the same rate later. And let's assume an investment return rate. It doesn't matter as long as we compare apples to apples. So instead of a rate from now till retirement, let's just say your money doubles, okay? So on either way, now and later. So we have those variables. So now you were thinking about converting $100,000 to a Roth IRA. If you don't convert, that $100,000 will double to $200,000, right? I just said it would double. At a 30% tax rate, when you take it out later, 30% on $200,000 is $60,000. So you'll net $140,000. You still with me?
Yep.
All right. Now take the other scenario. Say you decide you want to convert that $100,000. Now, same 30% tax, but you pay it up front. So now you pay 30% up front on the $100,000. What do you have left? $70,000. But it doubles over time. What does that come to?
$140,000.
Oh, the same $140,000 I just gave you.
That's true.
So if the factors are the same, there is no opportunity cost. You end up exactly the same. The only time you could lose with a Roth is if tax rates actually go down in retirement, which is unlikely, because if you don't do anything, your account continues to grow. So it's likely it's going to keep growing until it gets hit with taxes later, when it's kind of out of your control. Right now, the taxes you pay are under your control, and you can use up those low brackets. It's not under your control when you're forced to take it out at 73.
Now, what if I convert my IRA into an annuity?
There's no such thing. You can invest in an annuity in your IRA, but there's no such thing. They're two different things. The IRA is the container. The annuity is one of the investments you could have in that container. The IRA is the account. You can have stocks, bonds, funds, annuities. It's just an annuity in an account.
Yeah, but if I convert to an immediate annuity, some of the income I'm receiving is going to be returned to principal, so I may not be taxed.
No, wait. What you keep saying the word convert to an annuity? What do you mean?
I'm taking my $100,000 in my IRA and I'm buying a $100,000 immediate annuity for life, a life annuity.
You could do that. I don't know if it's going to do much for you. If it was me, if you really want an annuity, you do what I do. First of all, you have to have a Roth. I have all mine in a Roth. Everything I tell you in my book, and I'm telling you here, I did for myself, because I'm a big believer in locking down low tax rates for the benefit of tax-free income for the rest of my life in retirement. But what I did with the annuities, I like the idea of having some guaranteed income for life. But to me, the only thing better than guaranteed income for life is guaranteed tax-free income for life. And what I did is I have the annuities in my Roth IRA. So I have guaranteed income if I need it. I'm hoping I don't if I need it. But if I need it, it's going to come out of my Roth. So it'll not only be guaranteed, but also tax-free. I don't have to worry about my investment in the contract. Everything comes out tax-free.
That makes sense.
Of course that makes sense. That's why I did it.
You're such an evangelist. We haven't even gotten to the provisions of Secure 2.0 yet, because you know why? Because you and I continually argue about Roths versus regular.
Well, because
I'm not saying you're wrong, though. We're not arguing. You're right.
Front.
What's that?
Because nobody likes to pay money up front.
Yes,
I get that.
that's right.
But you get something for your money. You get to lock in today's low rates.
My rates aren't that low. They're 40. And
that is low. I'm worried about rates going to 50 and 60 at some point.
Well, that could happen. It's not real light. Well, anyway, we don't have to worry about that.
I don't know.
Your point is well taken.
You know what? I'm happy locking in today's rates because they're historically low. You think your rates are high, but these are historically the lowest rates we've seen in our lifetime.
Yeah, they are. Well, again, though, let's say that I make $400,000 a year. Okay, so I'm in the highest tax bracket I could be in. And then after retirement, even though I have tons of money in retirement accounts, my income is only going to be $250,000 a year. I'm going to be in a lower bracket.
If the lower bracket might be a 40% bracket, then depending on.
Well, then, yeah. But now, if things stay the same, I will be in a lower bracket.
It could be, but again, you're betting on a hypothetical when you could lock in today's rates.
Here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to concede this entire point to you so that we can move on.
If you believe you'll be in a lower bracket in retirement, you'll do better. That's for sure. There's more math. That's math too. I'm just saying it doesn't often happen.
Yeah, I just don't want to make life too comfortable for Miranda and Sarah, my wife, by giving them too much money. So anyway,
that's out of my area of expertise.
Let me see if I can speed things along with the Secure 2.0 Act, which is ostensibly what this podcast is about. Okay, I'm reading. I did not know this before this podcast, but there's starting in 2025, there's an increased catch-up provision or contribution provision?
Yeah, for SEPs and simple IRAs, right. But that happens all the time, each year with inflation. And that's another thing people should take into account. Everybody talks about inflation being this horrible thing, and I get it because things cost more. But when it comes to tax planning, inflation is great. It's unbelievable. Why? Because each year the tax brackets expand based on the cost of living numbers, which means the rates stay the same, but more money can come out at these low rates. And every year, and this goes back to what we were talking about before, every year you don't take advantage of low rates. That's a wasted opportunity. So when you say, I'm going to wait, until retirement, you could have got a lot of this money out at low rates. You say you're in a 40% bracket. First of all, the top bracket is 37%, but maybe, there's other taxes.
There's a surcharge, yeah.
40 or more with state taxes and things. But not all that's the marginal rate. That's the rate you pay on your last dollar. Even if you're at the top 37%, you still got the advantage of 10%, 12%, 22 and 24 and 35. You get all of those advantages on the way up to the top rate. So you're still getting the benefit of the lower brackets.
Now, let me read this to you because this is news to me. I just saw this today. Starting in 2025, individuals aged 60 to 63.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Why 60?
That really? That's correct, huh? 60 to 63 and 20. Okay, here, let me finish so that people at home can get this too. Starting in 2025, individuals aged 60 to 63 can make larger catch-up contributions to 401k and other similar plans up to $10,000 or 150% of the regular catch-up amount, whichever is greater. So basically, if you're between 60 and 63, starting next year, you can have the catch up. You can do 150% of the regular catch up. I didn't know this existed. I'm reading this for the first time.
Yeah, well, this has been in the law, but nobody made a point of it because it's not happening till next year. And that's all good. That's why I said Secure 2.0 provided a lot of incentives to save. And
60 to 63,
especially in the Roth.
That's so weird. Why just
no, it's great. I don't know. It's weird. I agree. It's weird. Why only 60 to 63? Other people don't matter.
That doesn't do me any good.
Well, I think it's because, right? I don't know. I don't pretend to understand the reasons people do this stuff or why they make these decisions. But logically thinking, I'm I don't know. Is it because people who think they're going to start taking their Social Security benefits early, this gets them in this 3 years? I mean, I know you can take it at 62.
It also,
who knows? Who knows?
You know what? It also may be a budget gimmick, to make the numbers work.
Oh, you're probably right about that
too. Good point.
Okay, now higher RMD age. I'm just going through a list of things that actually Miranda came up with, but I'm reading them. The required minimum distribution age will be increased from 73 in 2023.
Well, it's already 73 because we're in 24.
2024, yeah.
And will rise to 75 in 2033.
Yeah, call me back in 2033.
Well, I imagine that my wife and Miranda will be relaxing on a beach somewhere in 2033.
You seem to be obsessed with the whole legacy planning thing.
Yeah, and believe me, there's nothing I think about less than that. Okay, now automatic enrollment. Okay, this is a cool thing, right? The automatic enrollment. So you have to opt out versus opting in the way it used to be. This is part of. I thought that came along before. This is part of Secure 2.0.
Yeah. They just enhanced it. But in the real world, it hasn't worked that well. And I think you can't legislate behavior.
I thought it had worked well. It hasn't?
It worked. People made the contributions, but they also took their money out when they needed it because they used money they probably couldn't afford to do. The idea is good. Pay yourself first, take it off the table, but then life gets in the way and you need money.
Yeah. Okay, here's another thing. Student loan payment matching. Employers can match student loan payments with retirement plan contributions, helping younger workers save while paying off debt. That's a great provision.
Yeah,
cool.
Again, a lot of these 401k provisions are in the law, but the plans, the companies, the employers don't have to offer them. But that's one I think most companies will offer as an incentive to get good hires.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense too. Okay, what's this thing? Savers Credit Enhancement. Starting in 2027, this will become...
that's way in the future. They're going to turn the retirement savers credit into a different kind of vehicle, but we can wait for that. That's one of the crazy things about this whole Secure 2.0 Act. It used to be, and I don't want to sound like an old fogey, even though I am, but it used to be when the president signed a bill into law, everything was effective on that date, on the date of enactment. But now, due to, like I said before, all these budget gimmicks, we really saw it play itself out in Secure 2.0. There are provisions, like you just said, that went into effect in 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 33. I mean, they're all, the effective dates go out over 10 years. It's crazy to keep track. I actually keep a sheet on my desk, a chart, like a cheat sheet, when people bring up provisions. I say, oh, that one's in 27. Forget about that one. Oh, this one happened last year. They're all over the place. Again, all these budget gimmicks. I don't know how they come up with this, but it's very hard to keep track of. But most of the provisions in there are to help people contribute more to retirement accounts, and that's good. And I hope it does incentivize people because you got to contribute. And if you're with a good company, they'll match it. You can really build a retirement account. But I still believe you have to build it on the tax-free side, on the Roth side, because you'll always have more money if you don't have to pay tax on it.
And actually, if you think about it too, if they have something that's going to occur in 2027, then they could also repeal the law, right? So what they're able to promise you something now that may not even be there in 2027.
Yeah, right. As a CPA, we have an old saying: tax laws are written in pencil.
Mm-hmm. When I read it, it says a little bit conspiracy thinking, but when I read it, it sounds to me like, well, we have Social Security issues. We don't want to deal with it. So we're going to test this, a little testing ground for a government pension plan like, European countries do. So these are like little trickles of like, yep, here's a little government matching system. Test it out, see if it works. And then if it does, keep pushing it further.
Yeah.
And that could be.
And then get rid of Social Security.
They could be getting, trying things out, but too many of all these little provisions, and even if they're all good, a lot of them are good, but we have this patchwork of rules and regulations now, proposed regulations, final regulations, more rules, and it makes it very hard to plan retirement and especially getting the money out of a retirement account. The rules are getting unbelievably complex.
Yeah, you're right. Miranda, do you have anything else you want to add? Because God, that time went fast. Ed, whenever you're on with us, the time just flies by. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I'm just getting warmed up.
I do think I do think it's kind of interesting to look at some of the things, like you've got expanded employer contributions. This has already happened, like Ed pointed out. But if you are self-employed like me, one of the things that made me super happy was when the provision kicked in for me to be able to make Roth contributions to a SEP IRA, which wasn't a possibility before. So that was super exciting to me. The increased QCD limit, so qualified charitable distributions.
Yes, yeah.
That's amazing. Great way to help you with those RMDs if you have them. And then the other thing that I really, really enjoyed looking at for this is the idea to do your 529 to Roth IRA rollovers. My son has this 529. He's at community college. He probably won't use all the money in his 529. So thanks to provisions from earlier laws, I'll be able to switch myself to a beneficiary, pay off some of my student loan amount up to $10,000 to switch him back to the beneficiary, and then do a rollover from a 529 to a Roth. So it's very exciting, some of this stuff. When you really dig in there and look at your situation, you might be able to take advantage of some of this.
That is pretty cool. I'm glad you're mentioning this stuff. Is there anything else in here that we didn't discuss that people should want to know about?
Well, there's one item which you could say is good and bad. They've expanded all the exceptions to get money out early for the 10% early penalty. Generally, if you take money out of an IRA before 59 and a half, you have a 10% penalty, which is a deal breaker to me. I mean, that's just thrown out money. But as I said before, sometimes life gets in the way and you need money. So there's now over 20 exceptions, ways to get money out without penalty. But people don't understand it. They hear what they want to hear. They think they can just take the money out. There's no penalty. And they think it also means no tax. You still owe the tax, just not the 10% penalty. And generally, it's a bad move to raid your retirement savings early. If you raid it early, what will you have later? And if you're really desperate for money and you take, say, $10,000 out, no penalty, but you owe tax. What's happening, and this has happened for years, people that take out, say, $10,000 because they need it, they spend every cent because they need it. Then next year at tax time, they owe tax on $10,000 and they've spent all the money. So now they have to take out the $3,000 they owe on tax. But then they spend that money on tax. So now they have to take more money. You get into the cycle of taxation that wipes out your account. So I would say they're there if you need them and it's a desperate situation. But raiding a retirement account is the most expensive source of money and should only be the last resort. But they put in lots of new exceptions if you need to get to it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's good and bad. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and close it there, guys, unless anybody has anything else, because we are out of time. But you know what, listeners? We're never out of topic. So you want to dig a little deeper, and you certainly should, then you're going to find links to lots more info in our show notes. And remember, if your goal is to make more, to spend less, to retire rich, your online home is moneytalksnews.com. And don't forget to check out Miranda's online home as well. That is mirandamarquit.com. And of course, you want to visit Ed at his website. That is IRAhelp.com. Also, if you really like what we're doing on this podcast, then do something for me. Subscribe to it. Leave us a nice review, because you know what? I know where you live. Don't make me come over there and make you subscribe, because I'll do it.
Boy.
If you've got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to suggest, tell us about it. You can email us at hello@moneytalksnews.com. That's hello@moneytalksnews.com. And one last thing. Remember, we didn't give you financial advice today. Maybe Ed did. I didn't. So make sure you do your own research and consult your own experts before acting on anything that you may have heard on this podcast. Ed, you are the best. Love having you. Thank you so much for being here. And we will be counting the minutes until your return visit.
Well, I can't wait to hear the end of the saga in your family there.
Yes, me either. Of course, I won't be around, so Miranda may have to tell you how it ends. I'm Stacy Johnson.
I'm Miranda Marquit.
Hey, Stacy, nobody came back from the dead to spend their savings.
Well, I'm going to be the first one then, Aaron. You guys have a great week, and we're going to talk to you again next week. Take care now.